Alrighty, let's get started. All right, folks, so we're going to start with some introductions here in a moment, but just to give you an overview of the agenda today, we're going to be taking you through a GenAI solution for marketing. And really where the conversation is going to start is, a lot of the challenges that marketers are seeing, right? Lack of resources and needing to do more with less. So Sripad and I are going to give you an overview of our joint solutions, GrowthLoop and Typeface, and what we brought to market. We're also going to go through a live product demo, and then we'll go through Q&A at the end of the session. So just some housekeeping, this webinar is being recorded and we'll make sure to share it out afterward. And you'll notice a Q&A console with the Zoom. Please put your questions there. Thank you. So for introductions, I'm Sasha. Good afternoon, everyone. I am the Director of Sales Engineering here at GrowthLoop, and I'm pleased to be joined by Sripad at Typeface. Sripad, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm really excited to be here to talk about the joint solution across GrowthLoop and Typeface. I'm a product manager at Typeface, and we're based out of the San Francisco Bay Area. So good morning to folks on the West Coast and good afternoon to folks on the East Coast.
Excellent, thank you.
So let me just start by setting the stage in terms of the problems that Typeface and GrowthLoop are solving together. So most marketers know that the holy grail of marketing is to get the right message to the right person through the right channel at the right time. And we know that personalization drives growth. So a BCG study that we pulled showed that personalization can drive growth for companies that utilize it effectively up to 10%. But the challenge that we've heard from our customers is that resources oftentimes is a key barrier. So marketers want to personalize, they want to get the right message to the right person at the right time, but oftentimes CMOs are saying to us, hey, 75% of the CMO population that we studied through Gartner showed that teams are being asked to do more with less. So the resources just really aren't there to personalize at the level that marketers really want to. And that's where AI comes in. AI comes in to help define the audience segments that you want to target really at a granular level. And AI, from a generative standpoint, comes in to generate the content at a very fine-grained way for the audiences that you're looking to target. And that's what really we're here to talk about and show you through our demo.
Thank you, Sripad. So before we actually get into the live demos, we thought we'd paint out a little scenario, right? Just to align everyone to what we hear in the market, and hopefully this resonates with you and you're excited about the solutions we have here today. So imagine with us, Jess. She's a brand manager for Cecily, which is a juice company. They primarily have made apple juice, right? But they're really excited to launch a new beverage. It's a pomegranate juice, trying to target really specific audience members that would be a good fit for this new juice product. And so Jess is really, incentivized here to build some awareness around this new product. And what she wants to do is launch this product through some social media posts and others. But the challenge that Jess is running into, just like Sripad mentioned, is she's being asked to do a lot more with less. And she does not feel empowered today to build very targeted audience segments because she relies heavily on her engineering team and data science team to help pull those lists and customers for her. And it takes a lot of time. And so she ends up missing the mark and reaching these customers at the right time. And overall, too, she has limited resources when it comes to actually designing meaningful creatives and content that speak to that customer and their needs. So what we're going to see today in a live demo is a solution overview of Typeface and GrowthLoop and how generative AI can help marketers like Jess. What you'll see at the start of the demonstration is GrowthLoop. And GrowthLoop is really where you're going to start to build audience segments using natural language. And so we essentially want to meet the marketer where they're at. We know you're writing briefs. We know you're using words, plain words, to describe your audience. So we want to meet you there and allow you to do this in a self-service and intuitive way using your first-party data. And then with Typeface, you'll be able to connect that audience segment and really tailor that content so it's personalized for the members of that audience that you're reaching. And then within a single step, you can generate beautiful content, whether it's an Instagram ad, Facebook, Google ad, even email, SMS messaging. Really, it's easy to do in a single step. And then as you're personalizing that message and sending the appropriate content at the right time, you'll be able to come back to GrowthLoop and see if there's a significant lift in that audience in the campaign that you just launched. Perhaps you're measuring revenue, trying to understand if this did drive a significant amount of revenue. So you can continuously experiment as you're using these solutions together. To look more pointedly at GrowthLoop, GrowthLoop is really unlocking the gold mine of your first-party data. And so what I mean by that is you're likely using a data cloud. Maybe it's Google BigQuery in this case. And oftentimes marketers and other business-facing users don't have access to those technical databases, or they don't know how to write SQL queries. And really, as a marketer, your job, your passion is to build awesome and wonderful customer experiences. But that means you need to know your customer and know how to tailor your messaging to them. So through GrowthLoop, we allow marketers to use natural language to define the audience they wish to target. And then they're able to quickly see that audience and slice and dice further to really meet that target and specify who they're trying to reach. And as they're building those targets, you can even take those customer segments and put them in a journey, right? So saying if customer does X or Y or certain behaviors and activities, we want to send them a different message versus the group that maybe is engaging differently. So it's even more personalized step by step. And as you're personalizing, you're attaching beautiful creatives from Typeface that show the products or services or messaging that meets that audience where they are. And through the end of this, since we're connected to that data warehouse where you really have a wealth of data and knowledge on your customer, you can effectively measure any metric that is in that data cloud. So whether you're looking at revenue uplift or maybe app downloads or loyalty membership, you can measure if that segment and if that campaign was really working toward that end goal or lifting that metric in the right direction. All right, Sripad, why don't you tell us a little bit about Typeface?
Yeah, happy to. So Typeface is a product that combines the best-in-class GenAI platforms with your brand and data voice to create content that's customized and personalized to every one of your audience segments. So what I mean by best-in-class GenAI platforms is we use a best-of-breed approach when it comes to building our technology stack. So at the bottom, what we have is foundational models across Google, OpenAI, and Stability Diffusion to generate multimodal content across images and text. And that's what really makes us different from other companies that are out there is we are what's called multimodal. So we're able to both generate images and text together because we know that marketers want to get multimodal content out the door. So an Instagram post or a Facebook ad or a Google display ad both contain text and images. And it's really important to create both at the same time through a single product. We've heard from marketers that maintaining brand integrity and personalizing content to match a specific brand persona or a tone guideline is really, really important so that when their customers or end users see marketing collateral out in the public knows that the content came from a certain brand. And so what we do is consume content and data from our customers to be able to output content that matches the exact brand characteristics that the customer wants to see in their marketing collateral. Ultimately, personalization, the intent of it is to drive top line growth. So what we've seen is that by personalizing content down to specific audience segments, you're able to increase performance of your marketing campaigns because end users see that content to be more relevant to them. And that's what we're really all about. We're an enterprise-focused company, so security is really, really important for us. So we're a multi-tenant architecture, so data that comes to us isn't shared back to a public model, nor is it shared with any other customers. IP is owned by customers, and we're very careful to make sure that we have stringent guidelines in terms of who can access data and making sure that the data is centralized inside of a single tenant so that it is shared across like I said, different customers and back to public models. I'll just kind of shoot out a quick quote from one of our customers, LG, who uses us for some of their retail sites. And what they're telling us is that with Typeface and generative AI, they're able to generate thousands of personalized messages that are on brand, which is really critical for them for different markets. So they use us to generate content across all the markets that they serve. And now they're able to accelerate their content velocity to make sure that they're hitting their customers where they're at, but in a way that's highly personalized. And happy to answer more questions about Typeface at the end of this webinar.
Great. Thanks so much. All right, so without further ado, let's get into the live demo. I'll kick us off here within GrowthLoop. And like I mentioned, really GrowthLoop is doing the first critical step here, which is unlocking your data cloud. Again, whether that's BigQuery or Snowflake or Redshift, you have a centralized data goldmine. And perhaps as a marketer, you're unable to access that data. Thus, you aren't able to really understand your customer, right? Understand their activities, their behaviors, their spend, how they're engaging with your content. So the first step here is you want to target the customer, but you want to use all that data that you have in your warehouse. As a marketer, I don't know how to write SQL. I shouldn't have to know how to write SQL to do this. So let me take you through what GrowthLoop is first unlocking, and that's using natural language to define the target audience that you want to reach. So in my case, we have a new product that we're launching. So Sripad and I have a pomegranate juice, perhaps, right? And we were really excited about it. We want to get it to market. And I know that my target group are high value customers that have a certain spend. And we're doing this product release in a specific geography. So I want to target those folks in certain states. So I can use my natural language to describe that I'm targeting customers in the tri-state area that have spent at least $100 with us and their loyalty members. So when I click generate, what's happening here is we're using large language models powered by Google to look across your different data sets and tables, all the technical stuff we don't want you to have to lift a finger with, so you can find that appropriate audience and continue to refine that as you go. So in a matter of seconds, I'm able to see here that my brief prompt of who I wanted to target returned some pretty awesome data back to me. So I'm able to see that I have the states identified: New York, New Jersey, Connecticut. I have, in fact, found folks that have spent at least $100 and they are loyalty members. Even better, in the upper right corner, I can see a live size of this audience. So I have a little bit over 32,000 here in this pool. And another interesting stat that I like to look at is revenue. This could definitely be something different for your organization. Whatever is in your data cloud ultimately becomes a metric here. But for me, revenue is important. So I can see that this audience, life to date, is at 43 million in spend. It's a pretty solid audience. I can come through and continue to manipulate this information and refine my target without needing to know how to code. So this allows me to experiment really quickly and build my segments as quickly as I think of interesting and creative ways to target my audience. So you'll see here, I have a ton of different data points that are surfaced to me from my data cloud. So I don't need to go and ask an engineer or, again, learn SQL to pull these up myself. So I might decide to refine this a bit further and say, also show me social media followers. Or maybe I want to increase the spend that our customers have had by $150 to find those that are maybe in a higher spend tier. So I went from 32,000 records down to 4,300. So now I'm really specifying this target. And you'll see the total revenue number changed as well. Another thing that I'm empowered to do here is really see if there's any overlap in this audience compared to others that myself or my team may have already created within GrowthLoop. So this is a really good way to optimize your ad spend so you're not retargeting folks with similar ads and messaging. So I can see here I do have some overlap with another audience, and I might choose to exclude that group. Or perhaps I can include this target audience to expand my pool. So lots of flexibility there. Additionally, you'll see I have a prompt that says, do I have other types of data that would be powerful to segment upon? And in this case, I do. So I might come in here and actually use transaction data as well. I know about my customer, the demographics of that customer, but perhaps since Sripad and I are targeting for a new type of juice that we're launching, we want to find folks that have not made purchases of this juice. So I can say customers have made 0 purchases for, the juice that we're offering, or the sparkling water we're offering. And this way I'm really, personalizing this target audience to make sure we're not hitting them with an ad for something that they've already purchased or heard of. So very easy for me to slice and dice the data, again, without needing to know how to code. And as I continue to build this audience, I can also look at interesting breakdown criteria, such as, the cities or states or, age groups, income brackets that this audience is in as well. And the reason this is important is we are integrated with Typeface and can pass along these breakdowns or signals on this audience, rather, to let Typeface know who makes up that audience. So that content can be further personalized based on, perhaps the geography or the age or the likelihood to spend. So just to highlight something here too, before I turn it over to Sripad, you'll notice that I have options as I'm building this audience to effectively create creative right within the audience segment. So we do have a Typeface integration here where I can create Google search ads, display ads, emails, and so on right from within the app. And vice versa, you can access your audience segments within Typeface. So I will pause my screen, and Sripad, I'll pass it to you so you can show us more about Typeface.
Great. Let me just bring my screen right up here. Okay. So like Sasha was saying, you can define your audiences in GrowthLoop and then even generate content inside of GrowthLoop using the Typeface embed. But what I want to show you today is a demo of the full Typeface product, just to give you a flavor for the capabilities that our product has to offer. So like Sasha was saying, she defined the audiences that we wanted to target for our product launch in GrowthLoop. But the next challenge is, let's try to generate content for each one of those audiences that's specific to who we want to target. And that level of personalization is what you can accomplish inside of Typeface. Before I start, I just want to highlight all the things that Typeface can do. So Typeface is a low-code, no-code product where marketers can come in and directly use our generative AI technology to generate marketing content. And that ranges from everything from an Instagram post to a Facebook ad to a Google ad and so forth. We also support things like emails and other types of creatives as well, including 3D in some cases. So let me first give you a flavor for where Typeface is innovated on top of existing GenAI platforms. So let me just really bring this up. And let's say I wanted to, again, create an ad for pomegranate juice for the brand that we were talking about. So what you can do in most systems is say, hey, create a can of pomegranate juice on a kitchen counter. And you can click generate here. And as this is coming up, you can see some of the output that I've already gotten here. And you can see here, most image generation platforms are able to put together a can of pomegranate juice, but sometimes they take it a little bit too literally. So this looks like a can of soup with pomegranate sort of written on here with a picture of a pomegranate. And that's obviously not what our product looks like, if you remember the can of pomegranate juice that we showed you earlier. And that's what marketers have told us, that existing systems are able to generate high quality content, but it's not on brand. It doesn't, the products that are in this generated image doesn't represent what my product looks like in real life. And that's extremely important when I'm getting marketing collateral out the door. So let me show you the world where Typeface came in and solved that problem. And so what we can do in Typeface, before I go there, is upload our product assets to Typeface. So in this case, if you recall, we're trying to launch this pomegranate juice. And so what we can do is take an image of that pomegranate juice and upload it to Typeface. And we can use this image to generate content downstream. So once I've done that, I can go back to this interface here and say, I want Sicily pomegranate juice sitting on a kitchen counter, and even provide hints like the kitchen counter, it has a clean, modern aesthetic. I'll let that generate. And while that's generated, you can see some of the output that I have here on the right-hand side. So if you notice and you compare the difference between what I showed you earlier to what's in front of you right now, the can of pomegranate juice looks exactly like the pomegranate juice that I uploaded. And so we're able to place these products in scenes that are completely generated. So this kitchen right here, even though it looks very realistic, it's actually generated completely by AI, and we're able to place these images directly in the scene so that you can use this directly in a marketing campaign of your choice. And we even get the details right. If you notice here, this can is sitting on this marble counter, and marble is a reflective surface, and we're able to show you the reflections here, which gives you kind of a sense of the power of AI to make realistic scenes using the product assets that you have with you. So that's just a quick demo in terms of our capabilities. I did want to show you one other piece of the puzzle here, which is personalization. So let's say I wanted to create a personalized Instagram post. So let me just go through that process here. And so as a marketer, I can go into this interface, and like I said, it's a no-code, low-code interface, and just enter in a few prompts. And then you can use this interface to generate a full Instagram post that includes both the image and the caption that you would upload to Instagram to run an ad or run a post. So let's say my goal is to drive awareness of a new product. And what I can do is say, I want to showcase this asset that I uploaded earlier. And the name of the product is Cecily pomegranate juice. And what's in my image is this pomegranate juice sitting on a marble counter. And what's really powerful about Typeface is the ability to specify the audience that you want to build for. And so in this case, I can say, hey, I want my audience to be health enthusiasts, because we're an organic drink company and we think that health enthusiasts might benefit from our product. We can even set the tone to match your tone as a business. And so let's say we want to be adventurous, because health enthusiasts might be both healthy and adventurous. And then we can choose a language. And we support multiple languages. These are just some that we have in the dropdown, but we support all major languages. And once I've done that, I can click on generate. And this is where the Instagram post is generated. And you can see here, the caption comes back pretty quickly. And you can take a look at how we personalize it for that specific audience that I showed you earlier. So if you recall, I personalized this content for health enthusiasts. And so if you notice here, the caption is, are you ready to take your health to the next level? Introducing Cecily pomegranate juice, the ultimate drink for health enthusiasts. And then we also have this generated image here with like some pomegranates in the background. We also include hashtags that you can post on your Instagram post as well, so that you get additional coverage of your post. And so this is just a quick demo in terms of the power of Typeface and GrowthLoop together, because what I showed you earlier is that I typed this audience myself. But with GrowthLoop, what we do is, like Sasha was saying, is we consume metadata about your audience directly from GrowthLoop and pull it into Typeface. So when we do that, we can customize this creative to the specific audiences that you've generated in GrowthLoop. So let's say like they have a certain purchasing history, or they prefer certain types of products. We pull all that metadata in and use all of that in our models to be able to customize and personalize creatives for that specific audience that you defined in GrowthLoop. And once you're done, you can push that content back to GrowthLoop to post it on Instagram and get the data around how well that product or that marketing collateral is doing in the measurement interface that GrowthLoop provides. So that's a quick demo of Typeface, but happy to answer more questions as we close this demo out. But with that, let me just give it back to Sasha, who's going to close the loop in terms of getting the content into GrowthLoop and measuring performance.
Thank you. Great demo. All right. So coming back to GrowthLoop, as Sripad just covered, we have this ad, let's say it's an Instagram ad or whatever you decide to create, and it's been personalized for your audience with that product, in this case, the pomegranate juice. So there's a couple things I can do now to activate this campaign. First and foremost, I want to call something out here. I can continue to tweak this audience before doing my launch. So I have my ad associated to this audience. If I decide that I want to add, additional, fields or whatnot, I can do that here. And so I can continue to refine total purchase value. I can even come in and, Sripad mentioned, there's some data around like propensity to buy something, right? So one thing that marketers maybe aren't always aware of is you have data science teams who sometimes build models, right? They're looking across your customers and understanding who is likely to buy what kind of spend tier propensity do they have to spend more money versus less. So you'll see here, I do have some models baked into my data. So as a marketer, these are available to me. So I could come in and say, before I launch this ad, I really want to make sure that we are focusing on those that have a higher predicted spend here, just so we can capitalize the most from this audience. So another great way of unlocking your data cloud is surfacing these models and all the hard work that your data science teams are doing, so you can leverage those within your segmentation. Additionally, before I decide to activate this audience, you'll notice that I have an option here to set a treatment and control split. So GrowthLoop is very much an experimentation tool as well. And we understand that as a marketer, you want to see if there is uplift in this campaign, if this is the right segment and the right type of creative that you're putting in front of that audience, right? And the best way to do this is actually creating an A/B split, right? So I can say, okay, I have a group of 19,000 people I want to surface this ad to, and they're really tailored in this segment, but I want to withhold 20% to see if there's any change, right? And this is awesome because what GrowthLoop is effectively doing is saying, okay, we'll do the work for you. We'll take your total audience of almost 25,000 people and we'll randomly split them between these groups. And that split will persist as well. And what I mean by that is this audience can be dynamic and ongoing. So as new audience members meet the criteria on this screen, they will be added to the segment and they will be added randomly to the split to maintain that 80-20 rule. And so now I'm ready, right? I have my audience defined. I have a great creative to attach to this, and I want to activate. So the good thing to know about GrowthLoop really is we're not making you change your tech stack at all. Both from a data cloud perspective, we want to leverage your data cloud. That is a wealth of information, but then also from your marketing stack. You're likely using a bunch of different tools for email marketing, for SMS, for your CRM, paid media. GrowthLoop can support any channel destination as long as there's an API or a way for us to connect through a file exchange. We have dozens of solutions connected out of the box. So for example, I might want to launch a campaign to MailChimp where I have my email drip campaign running. I can choose to take this audience and just do a one-time export, or I can do an ongoing export to my email campaign. And I can set the cadence. So in this case, I want it to be an hourly update to MailChimp. And so I can set hourly and sit back, and now the audience will continuously update to that destination. And then I can really go forward with that email campaign. I can also activate to other destinations from a single pane, such as my paid media like Google Ads or Facebook. And as I mentioned, there's a ton of destinations out of the box. Certainly feel free to explore more of these on our website, but you'll see different ad options. We can drop to buckets within your data warehouse, as well as CRM. So being able to send signals to a CRM, as your audience is making certain decisions or behaviors, triggering those CRMs to create leads and opportunities for you, and more. And beyond this, what's really important to consider is experimentation, right? So Sripad and I have been talking about that, really understanding if your campaign has been effective. So we took an audience of loyalty members that are high spenders. We created a beautiful ad for them, and we launched that really within minutes, right? And so now I can come in to GrowthLoop and see any metric within my data cloud that's meaningful and understand if this segment is performing effectively. And you'll notice I have that treatment and control split. And so that's what we're seeing here in terms of the different colored lines on this graph. So my treatment line is in blue. I have my control in red. And then what we're doing here is we're adjusting the control right? Because these audiences are different sizes between that 80% and that 20%. So we need to equal this out to understand what the true uplift is. And so if I want to look purely at uplift, I can see that, we have an increase in revenue by, over $17,000 just running with this treatment group that received those ads. And so my, speculation here is great. This is what I would consider a successful audience. There is true uplift. And so now I might run 100% treatment with this and continue to iterate with other experiments. All right, so that was our demo. Let me pause my screen share for a moment and get back to our slides. All right. So we covered a lot today, didn't we, Sripad? We really looked through our joint solutions and how they're solving the challenges of marketers really with having to do more with less, right? And using generative AI to save them time, as well as personalize their targeting and personalizing the creative that is in front of that audience. So hopefully this allows you to experiment much faster and measure those results as you go through this continuous loop. I know there's quite a few questions that came through. And so for those of you who are on, continue to put your questions in the chat box. But let's start with one. I think, Sripad, I have one that came through for you. How is Typeface different from existing foundational models?
Yeah, that's a great question. So there's a few ways that Typeface is different. So under the hood, Typeface is using models that are provided by OpenAI, Google, and Stability Diffusion, as I mentioned. But one key difference is that our engineers are able to incorporate the latest and greatest improvements to those models quickly. So the rate of change in AI is incredible, even in the last 6 months, and models are updating and changing all the time. And so instead of our customers having to figure out what the best models are to use, our team will figure that out for you and always present the customer with the best collection of AI models to generate marketing content and other types of collateral. So that's one key difference. The other key difference is what I alluded to in the demo, which is making sure that any output matches the brand guidelines or the tone guidelines that our customers care about. Which is something that's oftentimes difficult to do using raw off-the-shelf models. So our team spent a ton of time working through those problems to make sure that the output matches exactly what you're looking for from your marketing collateral. The third is that we're enterprise grade. And so what that means is that we take a lot of focus and a lot of time to make sure that data is secure. And we make sure that data resides within your own space rather than being published back to an open model or shared across customers. So that's something that's very important for us, and we spend a ton of time doing. And the third is, or last point I'll make is that we provide a very easy to use interface that's accessible for marketers without having to know how to code or access models directly. And so that's another benefit that we provide to our customers, is that we can access the power of all this technology with a low code, no code interface.
Awesome. Thank you for that. That's really helpful. Follow-up question here is asking, is my content private? What happens to my IP after I upload it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So on that front, we do a few things to make sure that the IP is protected. One thing that we do for especially images is attach metadata that indicates that the content was generated by Typeface and generated by AI for a specific customer. So there is some attribution to the content to make sure that people understand like where this content came from. So that's a big piece of the puzzle to help our customers make sure that like the IP that they have is protected.
Great, thanks. All right, another one here for you. It looks like.
Yeah.
Do I need a lot of assets to get started with Typeface?
Yeah, you actually don't. So you can add assets to Typeface if you have specific products that you want to showcase in your marketing collateral. But if you do want to just create text or an image that doesn't necessarily present a product of yours, you can go directly into Typeface and start using the product to generate content. You can also pull content from your website using a product that we call Text Blend. to generate or rewrite content for another purpose. So customers have used that in many cases to take a YouTube video, transcribe it, and generate a blog post off it, so that when you're launching a product and you happen to have some video that you've created for a marketing campaign, you could reuse that content very easily without a lot of work for blog posts and other types of marketing collateral. So that's an easy way to get started with Typeface without having to upload assets or anything else related to that.
That's great. Thank you, Sripad.
Great. So maybe a question for you, Sasha, is how do folks get started with GrowthLoop? Is there a lot of data that folks need to get started?
No, that's a good question. No, not much is needed to get started. So, really what we're looking for is a kind of the first pass, if you will, is customer data. So, likely you have a data cloud already that has, customer information on it, the name of your customer, maybe an email address, maybe a little bit of demographic information. That's really the first step to get started is identifying that unique customer. Certainly, we have instances where customers don't have a data cloud in place. We do have solutions available. One of them is called Easy Button, which allows you to take different sources. Let's say primarily you're using Salesforce right now as your main data hub, right? But it's not fully reliable for your customer 360, and you can't really activate customer segments across all channels from Salesforce. So what we can do is actually ingest data from other sources and centralize that into a data cloud for you to activate. So certainly multiple paths, but you don't need much to get started.
Great. And it looks like we have a question from the audience. And the question was, what technology does GrowthLoop enhance? And how is it different from other products like Marketo, which is something that the attendee asked about?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So, I will say GrowthLoop definitely complements a lot of solutions, Marketo included. Marketo is actually a destination or a channel that you can activate to from GrowthLoop. I'd say where we differentiate is GrowthLoop is a first-party data platform. So we are really connecting to your data cloud as that gold mine, as that source of truth. So activating upon BigQuery or Snowflake or Redshift. And really, when we unlock that, we're putting that data forward to marketers and other business users in a user-friendly way, an intuitive way, allowing them to use natural language to define their audience. Well, we do the heavy lifting and look across all your different data tables and everything within that data cloud to surface the right information. And so there tends to be a lot more within your data cloud, not just events and app data, but further demographic information, transaction information, really painting that full customer 360. So that's the first piece, is we're unlocking the data cloud for marketers. And as your data science team and engineers are building really interesting models, maybe propensity scores or next best actions, that can be leveraged from the data cloud and surfaced in GrowthLoop, so your marketers can take advantage of those data models when they build their segments. And I would also say too, GrowthLoop can activate across any channel, not just email. So, certainly an audience could be built in GrowthLoop and then activated to Marketo for that email campaign. But if you'd like to do, more paid media, we can activate to Google Ads, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and more, as well as push, SMS, your CRM. So it really becomes a full suite in terms of an orchestration layer as well. It's a great question.
Great, and it looks like we have one more question for you, Sasha. So what if multiple teams want to access specific data for their campaigns? Are there solutions that exist to manage that?
Yeah, so like you mentioned earlier, with Typeface being an enterprise kind of first product, GrowthLoop is the same way. We tend to work with very large enterprises that have many business units, departments, and sometimes those teams and departments can't see all of the data, right? Sometimes I can only see just a portion of my customer data, maybe a little bit of transactions. So what we do within GrowthLoop is we have a concept of creating groups and teams, so you can break out the types of data and visibility that your teams have when they're building segments. So certainly that's a great way to scale as you add more and more stakeholders to the solution.
Perfect. And looks like we have one last question around how you can pull in audiences into Typeface from GrowthLoop. And maybe, Sasha, what we can do is just quickly go to the embed example there, and then we can show the dropdown that customers can access to access the audiences that you might have created in GrowthLoop.
Yeah, definitely. Let's go to this. I think we find the right screen I'm on. Bear with me for a moment. Okay, sure. Let's just do that on the fly, because that is a great question of, how can we do this really within a single pane, right? So I'll just kind of start from the beginning here. We looked at, how to create audiences. So I'll just kind of zip past this a little bit and just put in a simple criteria. So I'm targeting folks in California. And this is where we do have an embedded version of Typeface within the solution. So I can see here, Google Display Ad, and this is where the same functionality that Sripad shared previously exists within GrowthLoop as well. So providing your prompts for your business name, display URL, unique selling points, and then also being able to manage an image asset library here as well. I won't go through the full piece because I know, Sripad, you showed this in detail on your side, but really this is a nice embedded built-in functionality. So you can also make your creatives from a single space alongside your segmentation.
Great. So I think I don't see any other questions in the Q&A. Maybe just throw like a last request out to the attendees. Any other questions that we could answer as part of this demo? Okay.
Well, we want to say thank you, everyone, for attending today. Certainly if you're interested in learning more, check out the QR code on the screen here. And you can also visit our websites directly. You'll see growthloop.com as well as typeface.ai. Feel free to request a personalized demo. We'd love to chat with you one-on-one to learn more about your use cases and how we can help you solve your goals around generative AI for marketing. Thanks so much, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you so much.